Go to webinar.
All right, did I do it right, Cody?
Hey, we're in.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, do you
Welcome,
want me?
everyone.
All right, sorry. I'm going to mute myself. You just tell me when to go.
That's all right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for PDK 101 today. We wanted to introduce Cole from PDK. Want to make sure that everybody can hear us okay. No problems with audio. I think we had done some testing a little bit beforehand and everything sounds good, but just let me know if you guys have any issues. Um, we're not going to be in the chat too much today. If you do have questions that you want us to answer either directly to you or live, please use the Q&A down at the bottom and we'll make sure to get to those answers and questions as we go through it. So today on a Ruckus 101, we're just going to go over a broad overview of the PDK platform, what it is, and what makes it so cool when compared to other access control platforms on the market, and why you guys should be using them in your job if you're not already. We'll go over some of the highlights of the system architecture. We'll talk about some of the integrations that they have, including with our PDK Control 4 driver, which is pretty awesome. And we'll be announcing a nice update to that driver next week at InfoComm. So come see us if you're going to be in Las Vegas and stop by the booth, say hi, get some free snacks, and check out the PDK gear at our booth. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Cole. Cole, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Cody. Appreciate it. If you guys do have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm still pretty new to Zoom, trying to get used to it. The company as a whole just transitioned a few months back, so bear with me a little bit. But if you do have questions as we go, just drop them in the chat. And I do have Tanner here. He's our distribution channel manager. Uh,
Hey,
he can
Tanner.
he can answer questions as we go as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay. So, PDK, we are an access control company, a cloud-based access control company, based here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So we've teamed up with Blackwire as a partner. They of course have their integration with Control 4 and sell our product as well. So they're a phenomenal partner, and we appreciate you guys going through them and through us and everything you do. So as you can see here, we start here with our mission statement. So our mission statement is to assist our partners in growing their businesses by offering exceptional support and intuitive, secure solutions. Say that 3 times fast, that customers love to use. This really dictates everything that we do. PDK as a whole is a very partner-centric company. Our founder, back when we were founded in 2011, he used to be an integrator, just like you all. And so when he created this company, he wanted to create the kind of experience that he never got to have with his manufacturers. So that really is the entire foundation upon which PDK is built off of, is being a partner fanatic company, as you can see here by our core values. I'm not going to go terribly in depth here, but our number one core value is partner fanaticism. Everything we do is centered around supporting our partners. When you succeed, we succeed. It is a mutually beneficial relationship. We do have other core values as well, which I won't harp on and go terribly in depth. But this dictates all of the decisions that PDK as a company makes. And you'll notice common theme of being data-driven and supporting our partners. Now, PDK as a whole was designed to be a mobile-first experience. So the reason for this was the founder had, I believe it was a Nest system installed in his home back when he founded PDK, and he wanted to create that same kind of plug and play experience that he had experienced with his home system. So it is designed to be a mobile first system. That said, it is compatible across all platforms. You can use a mobile, you can use tablets, you can use, I'm going to show you the desktop software here. It is compatible across all use cases, but it is designed to be mobile first, which is kind of where we differ from other manufacturers. You have the full capabilities of the system from your phone. So what that means from an installation point of view, that means you can do full configuration and troubleshooting from your phone. Some of our partners enjoy doing the full installation from their phones. Me personally, I've always preferred something a little bit bigger, maybe a tablet if I do choose to do it from a mobile platform. And others still choose to do it on the desktop, and that's totally fine. We give you the tools to do whatever kind of installation type you enjoy. But from your end user standpoint, that means that they can manage their users and their permissions from the mobile app. Lots of people aren't at their desks very frequently anymore, meaning that they are up and about and constantly moving around, driving from place to place. Maybe that's your experience as an integrator. I know some of our integrators in the Midwest are frequently on the road, driving from job site to job site. And that's really where the mobile experience shines, because that is the place where you can quickly pull out your phone if you get a call from an end user and quickly manage different portions of your system. From the very end user experience, your employees, your tenants, people who don't have access to the management portion of the software, there's still a mobile experience available to them through the ProData app. And that would be your remote credentials and your Bluetooth credentials. The credentials that you would present to the reader to gain access through the door, or tap and hold a button to gain access to a door. I don't know why my keyboard is not going to the next page. There we go. Some of the things we'll cover here at the end of this slide deck is the software. We recently released our new 2.0 software, and this 2.0 software has a few key benefits that our 1.0 software didn't have. So it's going to be multi-site ready, meaning you can manage all of your sites from a single unified database, regardless of whether they share the same network or if they're even in the same geographical location. Additionally, you've got your system and health insights. That's pretty cool, especially from a diagnostic perspective. I'm going to show you that when we get to the software. And then configuration and management is vastly simplified. So I won't spoil too much on this page. We'll get to that at the end of the presentation here. But PDK is a cloud-based system, so we have to cover the value of the cloud. Some people are familiar with the cloud, and if that's you and you're comfortable with the cloud, you can kind of take a 2-minute break here while we cover some of the core pieces of the value of the cloud. If you're not familiar with the cloud, this page is for you, or perhaps for your end user. This is the exact same slide deck. Not this slide deck, but this page is the exact same page that I show to our end users when they request a demo through our website. And the reason being is because every end user has a different set of needs and wants and a different level of comfort with the cloud. A lot of people initially balk at the idea of paying a monthly cost for a security system because they say, why would I pay for that? And it's pretty simple. Each one of them is going to be a little bit different. Again, it's based off of needs and wants. So you will need to ask a few discovery questions if you are selling the cloud to your end user. But these are a few of the more common pieces of value associated with the cloud. This is by no means comprehensive, but this is kind of shows you the reason that the industry as a whole is kind of transitioning to the cloud. Two of the more frequent ones that I deal with are the strength and security and the lower cost. Those are very commonly points that are brought up by end users and dealers alike. The security, it is all hosted in the cloud. There's a lot of great encryption protocols used. We have a whole security white paper. So if security is the concern, you can always reach out to our sales team. They'll send you that security white paper. In terms of cost, one of the more surprising things associated with cloud-based access control is that it's cheaper than on-premise access control in the long run. The reason for this is because A, the equipment itself is cheaper, not quite as cost demanding with the energy use and the processing power needed, but also it's future proof. The cloud-based is. This means that you don't need to upgrade it every 8 to 12 years, whatever it ends up being with on-premise access control systems. It is future proof. I have a system of my own, a PDK system at my house that I have had since the very early days of PDK. It is still running the latest software. The latest updates have been pushed to it, and it still works beautifully as if I had just bought it yesterday, even if it is much older hardware than probably most people have. So those are a few ideas of some of the value associated with the cloud. We, of course, have these other 6. I won't go into detail on those, or else we'll spend like 45 minutes on this page. But if you do have any questions or concerns about the cloud or how to sell the cloud based access control, you can always reach out to our sales team. And in fact, we have an entire dedicated sales training. It's done bi-weekly on Thursdays that will cover how to sell cloud-based access control. And it's really great. It's put on by our inside sales team. Okay, now getting into some of the good stuff. We've got our integration partners. You'll notice in the top right here, Blackwire, we've got Control4. And like he said, they do have a new integration or improvement, I should say, to the integration coming out next week, I believe he said it was. So stay tuned for that one. Control4 is a great integration. We do have other integrations, and of course, Control4 has other integrations. So you're welcome to look at any one of these to fit your use case, your application. We've got anything from wireless lock sets to power to cameras to video intercoms, visitor management, site design. So really a lot of resources available that integrate seamlessly with the PDK platform. And that's the benefit of having a cloud-based platform, is it's very easy to tie into those webhooks and the open API of PDK's platform with these. And that's why we have so many integration partners. One of the key considerations of the founder and the current CEO is they didn't want to create a diluted access control company. They wanted to, and they wanted to specialize specifically on what we excel at, which is access control. So you'll notice that we don't have any cameras and we don't do any video intercoms. And the reason for that is because if we did, probably wouldn't be the greatest experience. So we take partners that do excel at those things and we integrate with them through our very diverse API platform so that you can have an all-encompassing solution that is the best of access control and cameras and video intercoms and so forth. Okay, but getting into the PDK hardware, this is an overview of the anatomy of a PDK system, the topography as we call it. So this is how you will build and design any PDK system. And you'll notice right here in the center, we've got the cloud node. So that cloud node is the head end unit. You would have a cloud node per site. And the reason for that is because it coordinates all the communications on site back up to the cloud. It's the gateway. You can kind of think of it like a router. But up in the cloud, we've got PDK-IO where you manage everything and coordinate everything. That is then transmitted down to the on-premise portion of the hardware. Now, once you have the cloud nodes, you can add on additional door controllers to whatever size you need. We've got anywhere from a 1, 2, 4, 8, and 24 door controller with the Red Max, We do have a couple of outdoor controllers down here, the red pedestal and red gate, and they all communicate either through Ethernet, PoE, or wireless, meaning that you can mix and match any one of these with any combination of communication protocols that works for you. And you can add as many of these as you need on a site to accommodate whatever number of doors that you need to cover. So, for example, if you had I think the national average is like 6 doors on an access control site. So we've got a cloud node, and you would presumably do something like a red 4 and a red 2, or if you want to future-proof everything, you can do a red 8 and have 2 additional slots available. I have got Seth with a raised hand. I hope I did it right. You should be able to unmute, Seth. Maybe.
Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Carry on.
Oh, okay, no worries. I do have another Q&A here. Pros and cons of PDK compared to Unify Access or Alarm.com access control. Whoops. So I would say probably the biggest benefits are the mobile-based platform, the full capabilities from regardless of whether you're using a phone, a tablet, a computer, Mac OS, Windows, Linux, iOS, Android, is all the exact same experience, which I know is not always the case with other manufacturers. So it is very intuitive and easy to use. We had done a survey, I think at the start of the year with our end users. We had sent out an email blast asking for feedback. 2 of the most important things to end users are remote access and ease of use. Now, granted, I do believe both Unify and Alarm.com have that remote access component, but the ease of use, I think, is unparalleled. I'll show you in the software. Second bit is the scalability. I believe the case for both Unify and Alarm.com is that they're not quite as scalable as the PDK.io platform. So I think a lot of your questions would be answered from the software portion. So we'll go to that point and see if that kind of answered some of your questions. All right. Now, next slide. Oh, maybe. There we go. So this goes over the communication of our controllers in a bit more depth. We have got the WiMAC, which is our proprietary wireless signal. It's a Zigbee protocol. So the way it works is you just snap this module onto a board. This is a 2-door controller right here. And it will communicate, it will automatically convert and begin communicating with the cloud node through that Zigbee protocol. Now, we advertise 1 mile line of sight. That is all sunshine and rainbows, best case scenario. You'll get about 450 feet indoors. And I'd say in lots of applications, about 1/2 mile to 3/4 of a mile outdoors. You always have to factor in interference and obstacles, of course, with that wireless signal. Ethernet comes standard on every board. So if you are just going to communicate through the local network, it's already there. You just plug and it's plug and play. You just plug in the Ethernet and everything will self-discover via IPv6. You can set static IPv4s if you'd like within the software, and that's also another option. And then PoE is a modular option. So if you want to power and communicate through that Ethernet port, you just get this module, you snap it onto the board, and it begins siphoning PoE power. And that'll provide you up to PoE++. So you can do PoE, PoE+, or PoE++. And if you do that plus, it'll give you up to 3.5 amps of power available for use on the board. So typically the way you'll calculate it, it'll be about 1 amp of power per port once you get to like a Red 4.
It's pretty cool.
Yep. So I do have one more question here. Oh, yeah, not the same thing as Control4's proprietary Zigbee, and not the same as Assa Abloy's Zigbee protocol either. They're all I believe just different encryptions that are used. They're not all made by the same person, obviously. So yes, thanks, Cody. Now, the partner program is available to anyone and everyone who wants to take advantage of it. The nice thing is you don't have to take our certification course to become a partner with PDK. PDK is very open to anybody who is willing to learn our product and install it. So you can go right now to Blackwire and purchase our equipment and install it tomorrow, for all we care. Now, we do offer a certification course as an option to give you some additional benefits. Obviously, we want you to become certified because it leads to a better experience for you and your end user. So our certification is done online. It takes like 4 hours, I think it is, start to finish, and it's modular. So you just take it at your own pace. It gives you some benefits. Triples your warranty. So your non-certified warranties 1 year, this bumps it up to 3 years. You gain access to our 24/7 tech support team, and I'm going to cover more about them in a minute. You get better pricing on the cloud hosting, and you get advanced RMAs. And one that's not listed here, but is another huge benefit, is every 13th system is free. So that means we would ship you a cloud node and a 4-door controller for a 5-door setup, in other words, every time you install 12 systems. Every 13th system is free. And I do not know why that's not here, because that is a huge one. Now, our support team. You gain access to the 24/7 tech support. But with that said, even if you're non-certified, you still have access to our support line. You can call in. They're not available 24/7 by default, but we're open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So they are available to anybody who calls in, even if you're not certified. The best part of our support team is that they're all based here in the very same building I'm in, right here in Salt Lake City. The entire support team is based here in Salt Lake, including that 24/7 tech support. So if you get certified, you're given an extension, a code that you can call after hours, and it redirects it to somebody's phone, one of our support technicians' phones, one of the tier 2s, I should say. And they will, if they're sleeping, they will roll out of bed and they will help you. So there have been many late nights with them. Obviously, they're paid for it, so they're okay with it. But they're a phenomenal resource, and they're all very knowledgeable. They're all trained by our support manager, who was an integrator before he came to work for PDK because he had back issues. So phenomenal support across the board, and they're all trained by a very knowledgeable support manager. Best part, I think I've said that a few times. We answer 80% of support calls in 20 seconds or less. That is our goal that we meet. So you can see here we've got gold and platinum as additional benefits. So this is just when you install X amount of PDK systems, you inevitably become gold or platinum. There's 3 options. You can meet any one of those 3 options to become gold or platinum. You can install 12 systems in a year. You can install 100 devices in a year, or you can install 35 total systems to become gold. And then platinum's an extension of that: 24 systems in a year, 250 devices in a year, or 75 total systems. And then you gain additional benefits with those partner programs. Just our way of acknowledging all the partnership and the quantity of systems you're installing. So you gain additional benefits there: extended warranties, project pricing, dedicated support line in the case of platinum, things like that. I do have a question here.
Yep, I was just going to bring it up to you, Cole.
Perfect. What if you get certified after installation? So technically speaking, the certification will be anything that you install after it. With that said, I'm actually, this is a newer job title of mine as training and event manager. I came from the inside sales team about a month back. What I would do, and what I am certain any of the inside sales team would be happy to work with you on, is doing a retroactive discount for the certification. I had a lot of dealers that would complete the certification like a week after their first install, because typically your installs are very, I need it done yesterday kind of a deal. And I understand that, you can't balance doing an install and taking the certification course at the same time. So typically, if you do the certification within like a week of completing an installation, you can work with your sales rep to retroactively discount the job to certified pricing as opposed to non-certified pricing. So that's a good question. It'll just basically be whatever you work out with your sales rep. Okay. So this is the link to the training platform, and we do have 3 trainings. We have the technical certification, which is the one that gets your company certified. Only one person from your company has to take the certification to certify the entire company. So again, it's pretty straightforward. It takes about 4 hours. It does cost $650. The reason for that is we ship you a head-end unit, a cloud node, as well as a Bluetooth reader, a Rex, a DPS, some credentials, a hat, a shirt. So we send you basically a one-door kit with a bunch of PDK swag. But again, just one person from the company has to take that to become certified, and then your company's certified for life. You've got your PDK sales training, which is going to teach you how to sell PDK and cloud-based access control, as well as how to generate RMR. That's a very important component of ProDataKey, is learning how to generate the most value for your company. And then we've got the Access Control 101, which it's a free training. It's essentially just the basics of access control. It's a very beginner level introduction to access control. Lots of people who don't even install PDK will take that training just for the information within that.
Yeah, these resources are really great. I recommend to everybody who calls in and asks about PDK for the first time, I always refer them to these resources so that they can arm themselves with additional information and just make themselves a better installer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly can't hurt. And some companies have, required hours for training, or I forget what those are called. CEUs.
Oh, like continuing education. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So you can dedicate some of these trainings towards that time. All right. That covers the slide deck. Any questions before I move on? You can either raise your hand, you can drop it in the chat box. I'm just looking at it right now.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything new.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, let me get into the software then. Assuming I can find it. Where'd I put it? Okay, there it is.
Real quick, we do have somebody asking if they can sell the training gear after certification.
Absolutely. If you want to build it into the cost of your first job, absolutely. It's yours to do whatever you want with it. Some people choose to keep it as a demo system or a training wall for their company, in which case you can have the hosting free of charge, or you can choose to sell the equipment after you finish the training. Either way is fine.
Put it on your whiskey cabinet to keep people away from the good stuff, right?
Exactly right. We actually do that here in the office, and not the whiskey cabinet. Obviously, we're not a bunch of alcoholics, but I put it on the inside sales fridge because we had a bit of a dilemma with people thinking it was just free game in the sales fridge, and it was not free game. It was coming out of the sales budget. So I put access control on the sales fridge.
You got to pay for those frozen burritos, my guy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So here's the software. This would be your exact experience. Now, your company would look something like this, where if you come back, you have got your company's name right here, and you've got all of your customers listed right here and all your technicians down below. Once you create a customer, you'll be brought to an interface just like this. PDK.io 2.0 sales demo, for example, is our customer, and we'll have a bunch of options within the software to configure and manage our system. Now, your end users may be managing the system, adding the people, pulling the reports, doing all the basics while you do all the hard parts, the configuration, the maintenance. So if you do choose to add end users to manage their system to some degree, you'll just add them under permissions, and you can add them. You can see I'm in here a whole bunch, 1, 2, and 3. I've added myself once as an admin, once as a manager, once as a reporter, and then of course I'm an integrator. So you can add people at different levels. They'll just be able to see different things. When you're configuring the system, again, it's all self-discoverable. So it's pretty easy. You would just hit plus, add in your cloud node by site. So if you do have multiple locations, you can add them all in right here. If you just have one location for this customer, you just add one. If we go in here and hit discovery, you'll notice that it auto discovers all of the PDK boards on the PDK network, which of course is going to be quite a few. We've got quite a few just lingering around here. So these are the ones that I've already programmed, with the exception of this one. You can see a few more down below. I'm sure these are all just engineering projects, but you can just select which board it is by the MAC address or the IPv6. And all you do is you hit add port, program it as a door, as a primary reader, name it as new door, and put it on the physical port number, which in our case would be port 1, maybe port 2, and hit add. And that's it. So it's really pretty intuitive. You can come back to the device page and it'll just be right here in your list in alphabetical order. You can click on it. You can make some additional adjustments if needed. Okay, so pretty easy to add doors. Once you get the hang of it, I know the first time's always the hardest, but once you get a hang of it, you'll probably spend like 2 minutes at the very maximum per door programming it. That's of course assuming you already have it wired and powered on. But the software portion will probably be the shortest part of the experience for you. Now, if we come back to the main page, another feature that will be of huge benefit to yourselves as integrators will be the system and health. Your end users are welcome to use this page as well if it'll be beneficial to them, maybe if they have an on-site IT staff or something. But this is really great for the installers, especially when you're not on site. You can quickly pull it up. They call you, they say, hey, we're having X and Y problem with the system. Can you please help us fix it? You can pull open the system and health, and this will show you first if there are any issues on the site. And second, it'll show you more details about each of the devices on site. So for example, the PDK corporate office, you can see here the board that I added is not found. It does not exist. It's a ghost board, the one that I added. So that's an issue. If we click on the cloud node, we can see the IPv4 address, the IPv6 address, the MAC address, the serial number, and the software version and the API software version. So you can see everything very quickly at a glance. That did not exist in 1.0, and that's probably the biggest portion for me. That is the biggest advantage to the 2.0 software. I used to be in the support team, excuse me, and we often couldn't even pull this information, which made diagnostics pretty hard. So to have this publicly available, not just for the support team, but for you, is huge. If we go to the controller, it will show us even more information. So it'll tell us the communication type, the device type, and the model. Then it will give us some of the same details. IPv6, since we auto-discovered it, the MAC address, the battery charge level. So now we're getting into some more power monitoring side of things, which is currently at 100%. The battery charge is high. The battery health is unknown because we haven't discharged it yet. And the battery current currently being used is 0 because it's not being used. But if you do switch over to battery, it will show you the battery health and the battery current and the percentage left on the battery as well. And you've got your serial number, the firmware version number of the board itself, the sync status and when it last synced, and then the connection unstable indicator, overcurrent indicator, under voltage indicator, low power mode, input power on, input current. So it will show you less than 0.05 amps, for example, is how much is going into it. It requires like negligible amounts to run these boards. We have a 14-volt transformer plugged into it. So we're using 14.048 volts into the board. And then the amount that the board is outputting is about 5 amps and 13.88 volts. So it is eating up a little bit to keep it all running. But it shows you all of the power details associated with the board. If you had a maglock plugged in right here, it would presumably show you pulling, I don't know, 400 to 600 milliamps, roughly. And then you can also restart the controller remotely. So this is your go-to page if you ever need to do diagnostics, if you just need information, or if you have some sort of networking or power-related question about how the system is operating. Okay, so from an installation point of view, those are probably going to be your two most common locations that you spend time in. Now, if you do choose to add people, meaning the card holders of the system, you can add them in right here. You just hit the plus button, put in their first and last name, or you can mass import for the end user with the CSV template. Especially useful if they either have an existing CSV template or if they're exporting from an old access control system, you can just re-upload it into here. If we go into one of these people, you can see you've got a lot of fields available. Won't go in a lot of depth here, but you've got your first and last name, activation and expiration date if you want to automate their access, a manual enable and disable button, your email if you're going to send mobile credentials, and your PIN field. If you want to program custom fields for your end user, you can do that. That's what this parking management tab is. That doesn't exist default from the factory. We just put in a drop-down list with some vehicle types, vehicle colors, and license plate fields. So you can add additional value that way. And then really all that's left is adding the credentials, and that'll be either the cards, the fobs, the mobile credentials, the stickers, any kind of physical credential you'll add under credentials, as well as mobile credentials. And then groups will be their access groups, where they have access, what times. Just automates and says, hey, everybody in this list down below has access to all of these doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, system events, your if this, then that portal. So if you want to say, if this thing happens, then do this, you can do that in the system events. So you can see here, I've got a few pre-programmed. If a battery is disconnected at any of these doors, send an email. You can either send email notifications or you can send push notifications, either one or both, to anybody who is connected with the system. We've got another one, a door prop notification. If any of these doors are propped, send an email. Let's see, a lockdown. So this one's a little bit different. Instead of a notification, we're actually triggering an action on the doors. In this case, we're saying if this button is pushed, then initiate a lockdown on all of these doors. So I'll show you that when we get to the door states page. But that's the idea with the system events. If this thing happens, then do this. And it can be triggered off of any kind of system event input. Auto open, that's your schedules. Schedule a door to stay open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. standard business hours, meaning people don't have to badge in to get through. We've got holiday schedules there as well. So if you want to say specifically for Christmas, nobody gets in, even though typically people would get in Monday through Friday because Christmas falls on let's say a Wednesday, for example. You can schedule an override rule that says, actually, on this particular Wednesday, don't auto open. And that does have the first man in rule as well. We call it auto open after first allow. You've got elevators. If you are going to control elevator floors, we've got reports, which will be your audit logs. We've got people, credentials, and events reports, all pretty self-explanatory, maybe except the events. People reports will pull anything on people. Credentials reports will pull anything on credentials, and then events will be everything else. So if you don't know what kind of a report to pull, it would be an events report. It is a cloud-based system, so it'll retrieve it from the cloud so that you can download it, and you can do some massive reports associated with this. Let's see if I can find one of those really big ones. Here's one. 1.65 million events. So you can definitely download some of these reports that are fairly substantial, and you can download as a JSON, an HTML, a CSV, or just view it directly in the cloud. Partitions will be the separation of the management of the system. So for example, if we have what I've configured this one as is a hospital. You can see here I've got the cardiology department, the chiropractic, the dermatology, emergency. So let's say we have a large hospital campus, right? We don't want cardiology to be able to interfere with dermatology's department. So we just separate the system into smaller chunks and say, okay, the cardiology department only manages their sets of doors and their people. Whereas dermatology, they only control their sets of doors and their people. And then maybe you have an overarching IT group that manages everybody and they can see everything. Just prevents things from getting messy. It keeps your system a little more neat, a little more organized. All right, and then my favorite page, door states. This will show you the live status of all of your doors. So the PDK corporate office, for example, the one we've been playing around with the most in this demo, you can see, for example, Cafe West, the door is open. So if you have a DPS, it'll show you if the door is currently open or closed. If we have a schedule, it'll show a little clock icon in the padlock indicating that this door or this gate are unlocked. And then this one is both unlocked for the schedule and the door is currently open. We can interact with these doors. We can just pop them open, for example. We can set timers on these doors, anywhere from 0 to 90 minutes. We can set them into do not disturb, which means nobody can gain access to those doors. We can force toggle them. We can silence alarms. We can go to the controller for diagnostics. So this is kind of your one-stop shop for viewing what's happening on your system and being able to control these doors at a glance. Now, the one I had shown you in the system events was the lockdown feature. So this is an example of kind of some of the ways you can program the system. Obviously, a lockdown is not applicable for every site, but for those vulnerable communities, churches, schools, universities, hospitals, lockdowns are very frequently needed. So it's pretty easy to activate. We just hit activate on the lockdown. And then you'll notice everything here will go red. Everything moves a little bit slower when I'm streaming video, so bear with me. There we go. You can see everything just went into do not disturb right here. So that's kind of an example of what you might program. You might program something a little bit different, forcing everything open in the case of a fire. Granted, that'll probably be done through the through hard wiring. It's not usually legal through the software. So that's a bad example, but whatever you do choose to organize, you can do directly through the software and program them as additional IO devices. Okay, and then live events will show you everything as it happens in real time. So if I pop open my app and request access to, oh, I didn't give myself access to the demo system. Let's see here. Cafe West, for example. Maybe the delivery gate. All right. So I didn't give myself access on the new system, so that was a little slow, but here we go. We have got Cafe West access allowed, person used app for requesting access. You can see a location stamp, a timestamp, shows you who it was, where it was, what the result was, and how it happened. So you can see a couple of events populating through from me, saying I have requested access to such door, access was allowed, person used app for requesting access. And then my name is highlighted so I can quickly go to my profile and maybe, where are we? There we go. So I can quickly go to my profile and manage myself and say, okay, Cole should not have access here. Let's just disable him or change his group access rules. Okay. Easy enough. That's really about it. The only other thing, which I haven't figured out how to present in Zoom, is the mobile app. I'm not quite sure how to connect my phone to my screen here, but the mobile app is the exact same experience. So you have access to all of these tabs and all of these icons. There's no differences whatsoever in the software. So if you want to program all of this from your phone or while you're on the go, it's very intuitive and easy to do so. And then, of course, all of your credentials would be hosted within that app so that you can present your phone to a door to gain access to the premises. That's about it. Any questions?
Doesn't look like we have any as far as that goes. Like I said, guys, stay tuned for more updates from us from InfoComm next week in Vegas with regards to our PDK update. That'll be a good time. If there's nothing else, I guess we can end this a little bit earlier, which I'm sure nobody ever will complain about. And then actually, Cole, if you want, we'll hang out after this. Seth is on, and we're wanting to chat about a couple of things. So
Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
sounds good. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna head backstage. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Reach out if you have any questions.